global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them. Crises precipitate change.
Secretly plotting your demise. I want to devise a virus.
Hello everyone, Darko 2012 here with Global Government News, and I'm covering an article from February 8th, 2010. But it is going to make a lot of sense. It's going to make a lot of sense when I get to the article, the title of this video. So, but look at what it says here: how Goldman Sachs helped Greece to mask its true debt. And it says Goldman Sachs helped the Greek government to mask the true extent of its deficit with the help of a derivatives deal that legally circumvented the EU Maastricht, not sure if I pronounced that right, deficit rules. At some point, the so-called cross-currency swaps will mature and swell the country's already bloated deficit. It says here, creative accounting took priority when it came to totting up government debt. Since 1999, the Maastricht rules threatened to slap hefty fines on Euro member countries that exceeded the budget deficit limit of 3% of gross domestic product. The total government debt mustn't exceed 60%. And it says here, around 2002 in particular, various investment banks offered complex financial products with which governments could push part of their liabilities into their future. One insider recalled adding that Mediterranean countries had snapped up such products, and it says Greece's debt managers agreed a huge deal with the savvy bankers of the U.S. investment bank Goldman Sachs at the start of 2002. The deal involved so-called cross-currency swaps in which government debt issued in dollars and yen was swapped for euro debt for a certain period to be exchanged back into the original currencies at a later date. And of course, this is the same investment bank that was betting against the housing market, betting that it would go bust, while telling everybody and recommending everybody to get into the housing market. So, yeah. And just finish up on this article here. It says at some point Greece will have to pay up for its swap transactions, credit default swaps, and derivatives markets. You know, just fiat crap, right? And it says, and that will impact its deficit. The bond maturities range between 10 and 15 years. Goldman Sachs charged a hefty commission for the deal and sold the swaps onto a Greek bank in 2005. The bank declined to comment on the controversial deal. The Greece Finance Ministry did not respond to a written request for comment. So here in February 2010, who would the Greeks hire for their debt chief? None other than the Goldman Sachs banker, former Goldman Sachs banker. Yes, this is right, people. February 22nd, 2010. So it says Greece replaced its debt management chief with a former Goldman Sachs Group Incorporated investment banker as declines in the country bonds Royal European markets. So maybe he's here to manage their new asset, right? They're accepting going into receivership here to the corporation Petros, and these Greek names are hard to pronounce, so I'm just going to say Petros Christo, took over from Spiros P at the head of the Athens-based Public Debt Management Agency, the Finance Ministry said yesterday in an email. Christo held positions in global markets at Credit Suisse Group AG, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan Chase. That's the whole gang, right? Before joining National Bank of Greece in 1998. It says the incoming guy is walking into a tough mandate, said Charles Diebel, senior interest rate strategist. And he said, such is the sentiment towards Greece at the moment. A new broom could be a positive. It says Greek bonds have slumped in the past 2 months, driving yields to the highest in 10 years on concerns the government will struggle to narrow a budget deficit that is more than 4 times the EU's limit. It says, moving down here, it says change of government. Papanikolaou, a former central bank official, was appointed general director of the debt office by the previous New Democracy government in 2005. His predecessor, Christopher Sordelis held the role since 1999 when the organization was created, and he says, "I am stepping down." He said in a telephone interview yesterday, it is normal that a new government changes staff, he said. It's a long tradition. Whether it's good or not, that's another story. And it said Christel is a member of the Foundation of Economic and Industrial Research, and he holds a Bachelor of Science from the Athens School of Commerce, and it said it's a challenging job, and we're going to have a very difficult period. So there you go, former Goldman banker as debt chief. And while we're on the whole Greek debt crisis, I thought I'd throw this in here because FT.com, FinancialTimes.com, has some great articles, insightful articles, and it says it's titled "A Greek Crisis is Coming to America," and this is from February 10th, 2010. And it says it began in Athens, it is spreading to Lisbon and Madrid, but it would be a grave mistake to assume that the sovereign debt crisis that is unfolding will remain confined to the weaker Eurozone economies, for this is more than just a Mediterranean problem with a farmyard acronym. It is a fiscal crisis of the Western world. Its ramifications are far more profound than most investors currently appreciate. There is, of course, a distinctive feature to the Eurozone crisis because of the way the European Monetary Union was designed. There is, in fact, no mechanism for a bailout of the Greek government by the EU, other member states, or European Central Bank. True, Article 122 may be invoked by the European Council to assist a member state that is, quote, seriously threatened with severe difficulties caused by natural disasters or exceptional occurrences beyond its control, end quote. But at this point, nobody wants to pretend that Greece's yawning deficit was an act of God, nor is there a way for Greece to devalue its currency as it would have done in the pre-EMU days of the drachma. There is not even a mechanism for Greece to leave the Eurozone. It goes on to say that that leaves just three possibilities. One of the most excruciating fiscal squeezes in modern European history, reducing the deficit from 13% to 3% of GDP within 3 years, outright default on all or part of the Greek's government debt, or most likely, as signaled by the German officials on Wednesday, some kind of bailout led by Berlin. Because none of these options are very appealing, and because any decision about Greece will have implications for Portugal, Spain, and possibly others, it may take much horse trading before one can be reached. It says, yet the idiosyncrasies of the Eurozone should not distract us from the general nature of the fiscal crisis that is now afflicting most Western economies. Call it the fractal geometry of debt. The problem is essentially the same from Iceland to Ireland to Britain to the U.S. It comes in widely differing sizes. And, I'm not going to be able to get to all this, but I will post the link, and hopefully you'll be able to get up in there and check this out. Said, for the world's biggest economy, the U.S., the day of reckoning still seems reassuringly remote. The worse things get in the Eurozone, the more the U.S. dollar rallies as nervous investors park their cash in a safe haven of American government debt. This effect may persist for some months, just as the dollar and treasuries rallied in the depths of the banking panic in late 2008. Said, yet even a casual look at the fiscal position of the federal government, not to mention the states, makes a nonsense of the phrase safe haven U.S. government debt. Is a safe haven the way Pearl Harbor was a safe haven in 1941. Even according to the White House's new budget projections, the gross federal debt will exceed 100% of GDP in just 2 years' time. This year, like last year, the federal deficit will be around 10% of GDP. And it says the long-run projections of the Congressional Budget Office, CBO, suggest that the U.S. will never again run a balanced budget. That's right, never. And so you have the IMF recently publishing estimates of the fiscal adjustments developed economies would need to make us to restore fiscal stability over the decade ahead. Worst were Japan and the UK, and then came Ireland, Spain, and Greece at 9%, and then sixth place. Step forward, America, which would need to tighten fiscal policy by 8.8% of GDP to satisfy the IMF. So, like I said, there you go, everybody. That was almost to the end, but yeah. But thank you for checking this out. Just thought I'd throw this article in here with the other ones as far as Goldman Sachs taking on the little debt manager chief in Greece. So thanks.